Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I thought Keldon Bester had some really interesting points to make on the Rogers-Shaw merger. And I think that too often competition policy really doesn't get nearly enough attention in our country. And I'm not sure why. I think it's that we take a far more lackadaisical attitude toward the need for competition. And maybe it's because we have this historical sense that Canada is a smaller economy and that we need to have big, dominant national champions to win. But too often those national champions, they take advantage of the competitive or lack of competitive situation. And we end up paying too much for it. And we've provided protectionism for them because of CRTC rules or other rules that may not actually be something that a lot of the Canadian consumers would support if they were actually asked. Do you want to pay more for all of your cell services so you don't have Americans in our marketplace providing cell services? I don't know whether people would actually, in a referendum, agree to that. They may say, no, you know what? I don't mind if some American companies come in and start to take some of the TELUS or Shaw or Rogers or Bell market away from them and sell service. It's not something that I feel as a Canadian, I have to have Canadian providers for it. And that may be politically incorrect for me to say that, but I think, I can understand it in regards to content on TV a generation ago. I'm not even sure if I can understand it in terms of today for Canadian content, because people get so much content from Netflix and Amazon and Google and Facebook and who knows what else. Do they really have to have Canadian content regulations on radio and television when so much of media has expanded to a whole bunch of areas beyond that? And why that protectionism exists for cable operators and for mobile telephony companies, I can understand. And so maybe I need to have someone explain it to me. But I worry that it perpetuates a situation where Rogers, Bell, Shaw, TELUS, etc., get to charge us rates that, from what I've been told and been led to understand, are the highest cell phone rates in the Western world. It may not be completely true. I don't know whether it is or not, but that's what I've heard. And that's what it seems. And so I do think that this argument that we should, number one, be paying attention to this proposed merger between Rogers and Shaw makes a ton of sense. And I do think that the argument that they should be challenged, if not disallowed, I think is a really good one. And I think Keldon Bester from this competition organization or anti-competition, anti-monopoly, pro-competition organization, makes a lot of sense. And when you think about why Rogers and Shaw or Bell and other telecommunications companies would want to merge, clearly it is to reduce costs. But I would have thought that another benefit would have been that they could jack up their rates because they're lessening competition. And I don't think that's something that we as consumers should want. I do also think that this outage that Rogers experienced, lots of us experienced last Friday, really is sort of a great example of why some of this over-concentration may not be in the public interest. And I do think that when we've got too few competitors, and it's stuff like I can't change my email because it's a Rogers email that I've been using for 15, 20 years. I don't even know how long we've had emails, but they tie you in to their organizations, whether it's through bundling or whether it's through provision of emails or other things, such that it becomes very difficult for you to move. You get a telephone and you sign a contract to stay with them, and then all of a sudden the contract keeps going on after the worthiness of that telephone is still of benefit. And so there's a whole bunch of things that some companies do that are anti-competitive that shouldn't be allowed and should be objected to and should be regulated. We believe in capitalism. We believe in competition, supposedly. And so therefore, frankly, companies should believe in capitalism and competition and shouldn't be doing anti-competitive monopolistic things. And I think that this Rogers outage is a great example that in a lot of sectors of society, heads would have rolled with this kind of an outage that closed down. You think about it, closed down 911 services. If we had an outage of electricity, if we had an outage of water, if we had an outage of natural gas, I think there'd be a lot more hue and cry. Why isn't there? Because of internet. And maybe it's just because we know we've got nothing to say because it's a big, huge company that their board of directors gets to decide who's actually, it's not even their board of directors. The chair gets to decide who's the CEO. We get this sense that they're beyond our influence. And that's wrong. And so I really think, and I go back to the argument that I made, when I was in political science eons and eons ago, we spent a whole bunch of time looking at reading royal commissions on overconcentration in the newspaper business. And people were justifiably worried about overconcentration in the newspaper business a generation ago. Well, you know what? Overconcentration in the newspaper business a generation ago is over consolidation. Sorry, not over competition, over consolidation in the social media universe and in the cell phone universe today. And I think it's an issue that we need more time and attention paid to. And the fact that we're paying these high bills, substantially higher than what people pay in the United States or in Western Europe, I think is proof positive that we don't have enough competition, and the rates are too high, and that there's too much pricing power, that the companies have enough pricing power that the consumer has. So I think that this organization that is potentially objecting to the merger is completely justified. I think if they start petitioning to get some money to fund their legal expenses, I would be one to donate to them. I think that companies that want to do mergers like this need to justify it in far greater detail to the government and to the public before they should be able to consolidate the industry to this extent. We're not talking about, I don't know what the industry that I should use as an example, but where there's lots of different competitors. We're talking about an industry where there's Bell, Rogers, Shaw, TELUS. Any more? And in most of the country, there's only two because they're geographically, Quebec, where I forgot, I apologize. And so therefore, there's not a lot of competition, and we should not be allowing them to reduce competition dramatically more. And I think that that this is a really important point that too often is not paid attention, because we just don't seem as focused on it as the United States does. It's their trust busting sort of history, and their arguments against IBM, against Microsoft, against so many different companies that we're aware of in Canada based on U.S. news. But we don't have comparable kind of issues in Canada because we haven't really had that attention paid to it, and I think we should. And so I think that this was a excellent argument that was made today, and I support Keldon Bester and what he's trying to do. And I would argue to all of you that you should pay attention to this and think about giving some money to this organization if they're going to petition for status so that they can actually go to court and object. I got a bunch of really good shows coming up this week that I wanted to let you know about. On Tuesday, I got Emily Lyon. She runs a fascinating company called Femme Fatale that is a organization that does promotional work. She also owns a matchmaking service. She also does a lot of branding, marketing work. And she's a very successful young entrepreneur. And she's going to do a show on personal branding and a seminar series that she does on personal branding and how critically important personal branding is. On Wednesday, I've got Monica Schneier, who many of you will remember from times past. And she's now entered the real estate business, recreational real estate in the Collingwood, Blue Mountain area. And she's going to be talking about her career and why she chose real estate. And she's going to be telling us a little bit about the resort or recreational real estate market. And on Thursday, I've got Pamela Fusili, who runs an organization called Parachute, which is all about injury prevention. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say. It's a not-for-profit charitable organization that is really working on trying to prevent injuries and focus on how critically important injury prevention is. Last week, I had I think a bunch of very good interviews, and I commend them to your listening pleasure on podcasts and or videocasts. John Ruffala, dealing with a recession. And I think a lot of us are going to have to be thinking about how our businesses are going to have to change if there is a recession coming. Dan Donovan on Patrick Brown and his exclusion from the Conservative Leadership Campaign. David Wield IV on capital markets and how it is challenging for mid-sized companies to raise money. Andrew Perez on what went wrong for the Ontario Liberal Party in the last provincial election and what he thinks needs to change if things are going to go better for the Liberals in the future. Rita Gupta, who is the newly appointed chairwoman of the Gupta Group of companies, which includes Easton Hotels, large hotel chain, as well as the Gupta Group of real estate development companies that's primarily multifamily residential. And Sharina Hussain, who spoke about waterfront development, particularly in the Mississauga, Toronto area, but also really development issues writ large in the Greater Toronto area. So it was a great week of some really interesting sessions. You can get them all on Speakeasy, the podcasts, and Audible, and Apple, and the videos are available on YouTube, my YouTube channel, Brian Crombie, as well as I post them or links to them on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I remind you that the Brian Crombie Radio Hour is on every night at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream it online at www.saga960am.ca and check out my podcast and videocasts. Have a great week, everyone. I look forward to chatting with you every night this week at 6 o'clock. Good night, everybody.